to me, what was interesting about Batman, and what has always interested me about Batman, is that he is human, that he doesn't really have any superheroic qualities. He is just someone who's compelled to do what he's doing.
Bruce Wayne.
Sorry?
I wouldn't be bothering you here, but your people keep telling me you're unavailable.
The Riddler is asking for you.
The killer left this for the Batman. Why is he writing to you?
You came. I've been trying to reach you.
For me, what was important was I wanted those two characters to be in dialogue, because really their aims ultimately were very similar. And I think that this notion of, I wanted a Batman who had not perfected himself and who had an arc that could allow him to have an awakening, so that it could call into question the very nature of what he was doing and whether or not the path he was on was even the right one. Because it comes from, I think, even more than he's aware of or would be willing to admit that he was aware of, is driven by personal animus. He has rage about what happened to him as a young person when his parents were killed in front of him. And so this is the kind of defining thing for him. And the Riddler has a similar thing. He's been through a similar background, and but he didn't have the resources, of course, of Bruce Wayne, and so he doesn't have this wealth, and he instead is trying to sort of get at meaning from his own way, but both of them have a very dark side to them. And so this dialogue that they are in with each other is deliberate, so that you could see, in a way, two sides of the same coin, and you could watch, you knew the lines that the Riddler was crossing, but you also saw how close Batman was coming to crossing the line, and probably places where he does actually cross his own supposed line because of how he's driven by really his shadow side, by his darker side.
I'm just here to unmask the truth about this cesspool we call a city. You're part of this too.
Stay still!
How am I part of this? Oh, you're really not as smart as I thought you were. Bruce Wayne.
The idea of them being in relation to each other was the core idea from the very beginning, was that there would be a kind of detective story where Batman was the detective and the serial killer was sort of communicating with him for a larger purpose, which was to reveal the nature of corruption in this place. And one that over the course of this story would actually end up surprisingly become very personal for Batman and Bruce as well, so it could really shake him to his core. And all of that was to show the kind of psychology, the humanity, and also to question the path and the idea of a masked vigilante and whether or not that was even the right approach. Of course, people coming to see Batman, they want to enjoy that. We're going to give you all of the spectacle and thrill of that, but I wanted them to engage sort of at a psychological level and a kind of a more sort of a more humanist view of things, the flawed nature of the characters.
What's going on?
Who's the mustache with the broken nose? It's Kinsey, narcotics. He's one of the guys that got into it with at the Iceberg Lounge. What are you saying, Kinsey moonlights with a penguin? Oh, he moonlights as a cop.
We were trying to depict Gotham as a place that felt like our world, but it was a world of extremes. And then suddenly the extremes in the real world seemed to become quite Gotham-like, and it was very unnerving and very shocking. And I don't think I ever would have set out to something so close time-wise to try and sort of take from it to do something dramatic in a movie. It wouldn't have been my choice. And that actually made me nervous. I think one of the opportunities you get in doing a Batman movie is that Gotham is a lens through which to look at our world. And so, to me, this idea of sort of the toxicity, the potential of inflaming passions in a negative way that social media has and all of that, these were all things that I thought the audience would relate to. I wanted people who were experiencing this fictitious world to look at it and say, okay, it might be fictitious, but it relates to my world. And that, to me, was important.
It can be cruel, poetic, or blind. But when it's denied, it's through violence you may find
Justice. The answer's justice.
Come on, vengeance. Let's get into some trouble.